Finally did it. I have started a stream and everything is working. I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch. I am not yet on TikTok or Instagram. Those are on my to-do list to add. Oh, it feels good. Oh, it feels good. I feel like I am finally learning some of this. I can't see shit without my glasses, and I have a light right in my face. I feel good. I feel good. Da-na-na-na-na-na. I knew that I would. Da-na-na-na-na-na. All right, with that little pick-me-up of an intro, let's depress everybody because the world fucking sucks. Yes, it does. Oh, dearie me. Oh, dear me, laddie. So the big news, well, I feel like it's big news. Joe Kent, who, if I recall, is he was let's see, it says on the right here, retired Green Beret combat veteran, Gold Star husband, director. Oh, he was the director of National Counterterrorism Center. I thought he was like a deputy director, but there you go, have it. So he is resigning. My position is the National Counterterrorism Center, effective today. I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran pose no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this. How is it that this guy, this Republican, so deep in the orange fecal stool sample of Donald Trump's shithole of a White House, how is it that this guy is somehow more to the, where am I on screen, left of the Democratic establishment? This is insane. Like, this here, that should be the standard of the party. Yeah? Schumer, Jeffries, Tim Kaine, Mark Kelly, all of these centrist establishment fucks who keep getting us into these forever wars, who keep somehow being to the right of MAGA when it comes to war. This is insane. I mean, this dude is not a good person. Okay? You don't get to be in the Trump regime and do one good thing, and then now all of a sudden everybody thinks that absolves you of being part of the Nazi kidnapping terrorism from ICE, or supporting the genocide in Gaza with Israel. You don't get to do this and then walk away thinking your hands are clean and your soul is pure. But somehow, he's actually getting more skin in the game than the opposition party, who's supposed to literally oppose just about everything that the party in power does. Is my light flickering? Is it going to flicker again? Can't tell if that's coming off on camera. I don't think I need it. Let me see. I don't think I need it. It looks fine. So, let's see. And here's how I know, because now he's going to record a live episode of the Tucker Carlson show. He's not a good person, okay? Tucker Carlson is a Nazi. He is a pro-domestic terrorist war criminal with his own show. And this guy, Joe Kent, is going on it after he did one good thing to protest the Iran war. And again, how is it possible that Tucker fucking Carlson, the great replacement... Uh-oh. Cables are caught up here. The great replacement hoax himself is somehow to the left of the Democrats. He is more anti-war than the quote-unquote anti-war party. Oh God, why is Fetterman trending? What did this dipshit do this time? I swear to God, every time I start doing these streams and I'm on Twitter, this moron comes up. Deeply proud to stand with Israel throughout the horror. Deeply proud of our military, what they've accomplished. This was 1 hour ago. Picking country or party is never wrong. Condemned by Carville for supporting Iran war. Says, I can't believe that even Carville is... Oh my God. Even Carville is dunking on Fetterman. You know how embarrassing that has to be, right? That's like if you're in high school, You got no prom date, and yet somehow the dude with fucking acne and a head brace, and he's getting the hottest cheerleader while you can't find a single date. Like the girls in high school won't even talk to you. That's how bad this is when James fucking Carville looks like the sane person in the room. Again, this is just like Tucker Carlson being anti-war with Iran, and somehow the Democrat establishment is not. It all comes back to money. That's what it comes back to, because the Democratic establishment, Schumer, Jeffries, they take significant contributions from AIPAC. They take significant contributions from the military-industrial complex. They want this war because their donors want this war, and fuck anyone in the party, fuck the voters who think otherwise. That's all this has ever come down to. Whoops, hold on. My YouTube stream is a little fucky. There we go. Can never seem to get the damn Facebook one to work. That's very frustrating. Come on. Okay, fine. So, now we got Mike Johnson. Little Mike. Here we go. We all understood there was clearly an imminent threat that Iran was very close to the enrichment of nuclear capability. I don't know where Joe Kent is getting his information. The president felt he had to strike first to prevent mass casualties.
And they were building missiles that I'm on the Gang of Eight. I got all the briefings. We all understood there was clearly an imminent threat, that Iran was very close to the enrichment.
This is obviously horseshit. It's total horseshit. The Gang of Eight specifically were briefed that Iran's foes pose no serious threat. I can't remember exactly, but the Gang of Eight was briefed that they were not even like within a decade are they going to be able to get nuclear weapons. The enrichment process to go from with the uranium that they have now to enrich it to weapons grade uranium is totally fucking different. It takes so fucking long. Every single person has said that there was no, every credible person, excuse me, has said that Iran posed no real risk of getting a nuclear weapon. That's it. They didn't. You know that because Trump did not even attack the enrichment facilities in Iran. You know they didn't pose an imminent threat anywhere else because they haven't done anything here stateside, despite the false flag warnings that they were going to. Iran's own foreign minister, I can't remember the guy's name, was coming out publicly before this illegal war started, coming out publicly to say, yes, we are for the peace plan. We're willing to give up basically everything. And then the next day, Iran gets bombed. They were willing to come to the table and do something they had never done before, basically give up almost everything, as well as have this Iran foreign minister who does not make these kind of public appearances. And he did it anyways, you know? The nerdy closeted dude in his mom's basement came out and finally was like, well, you know, I don't like doing this, but if you want everything we have with nukes, just don't bomb us. And they were willing to do that. So this is all horseshit for Mike Johnson, and he knows it. He knows it, and he's lying anyways. So you lying Christian, fake-ass Christian motherfucker.
Of nuclear capability, and they were building missiles at a pace that no one in the region could keep up with.
Fucking
they
lies.
They were far outpacing our
Keep in mind, Israel has nuclear weapons right now, and Iran has actually showed much more restraint than Israel has. Okay, Israel and America struck first, and Iran counterattacked because guess what? It's a fucking war now. They don't have a choice. And Israel, of course, is responsible for the genocide in Gaza. They have showed no restraint anywhere. They've attacked Lebanon. They've attacked all over the fucking place. Israel is the villain here. Iran is not good, but Israel is the villain.
Our allies and friends and us in our defense capability, because we had personnel, installations, members of the armed services, and civilians in the region. Iran was building up ballistic missiles at such a rapid pace, and we knew that their plan was to fire them upon Americans.
This is such horseshit.
The commander-in-chief and his administration had a very difficult decision to make. I don't know where Joe Kent is getting his information, but he wasn't in those briefings, clearly, because the Secretary of State, the Secretary of War...
I love how he thinks the director of counterterrorism isn't getting the latest intel briefs.
War, and everyone, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane, they had exquisite intelligence, and we understood that this was a serious moment for us. Had the president waited, I am personally convinced that we would have mass casualties of Americans, service members and others, and our installations would have been dramatically damaged. And so we had to, the president felt that he had to strike first to prevent those mass casualties. That's the summary. I can't tell you the classified part, but that's the summary that's made public, and it's accurate. Yeah, Manu.
It's all total horseshit. Again, it does not get said enough. The Iran war is a distraction from Epstein. All it is. All this new stuff was coming out about this little girl getting raped by Trump. All this was starting to come out. And so Trump did what he always does. He conjures up a fucking distraction. And that distraction was war. That's what it always is. That's what it always has been. It has never been anything other than a distraction from the Epstein files. That's all there is to it. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, where am I? What year is it? So this was Trump's response when he found out that Kent was resigning in protest.
Your director of national counterterrorism, Joe Kent, he just resigned today. He said he can't support your conflict with Iran. What's your reaction to that? And did you?
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security.
Yeah, he's saying a former Green Beret is weak on security. Okay. Okay, Donnie, you going to tell us what the hell's up with your hand and neck makeup that you got to cover up those fucking vampire bites you've been getting?
I didn't know him well, but I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted.
He says every country was a threat. That's why every country that he's asked to help him reopen the Strait of Hormuz has said no. South Korea, the UK, France, Germany, all of them said no, fuck you. You made your bed, sleep in it. But sure, every country recognizes there's such a big threat, that Iran is such a big threat, they're not willing to help. Yeah, okay. Okay,
to do something about it. And many people, many of the greatest military scholars are saying for years that presidents should have taken out Iran because they wanted a nuclear weapon. They were, if we didn't do the attack, or if, I'll go a step further, if I didn't terminate the Iran nuclear deal given to us, one of the worst deals ever made by Barack Hussein Obama. Remember when they sent
Barack Hussein. He's got to throw in the Hussein, because the JCPOA was one of the best deals that we could have ever possibly gotten from Iran. It offered complete transparency from Iran and the IAEA. It offered cutting down their uranium stockpiles, as well as it was going to cut down their enrichment program. It was the best fucking thing that we could get. And Republicans torpedoed it, because this is what they wanted. They wanted this war, because just as much as the Democrats are in bed with AIPAC and the military-industrial complex, so the fuck are the Republicans. And that is so stupid how you'll get literal Nazi rhetoric from these Republicans, and AIPAC will still donate them. That is how warped their political agenda is. They will break bread with actual Nazis rather than be in favor of actually keeping Jewish people safe, because they keep trying to conflate Judaism with Israel, which is exactly what Nazis do, which is exactly what Nazis want. Because when Israel or any Jew does a horrible thing, they can then go and say, look, this is the problem. This is why they're bad. Which is exactly what the Nazis did in the 30s and the 40s. They had, what was that? Der Stürmer, I think it was, the magazine, which would literally have lists of crimes committed by Jewish people. And they would use that as propaganda as to why they had to get rid of Jews in the country, which is exactly what the right wing does with immigrants. And so, AIPAC, you guys think you're safe? Once this all comes full circle, you ain't safe. Like, they're coming for you later on. You're making a deal with the literal devil with these Nazis, AIPAC. AIPAC, ADL, all these other absolutely insane Zionist people and organizations that will back people and defend people who give actual Nazi salutes, like Elon Musk, and yet then they will still back that same party with a white supremacist agenda who have the same talking points of the great replacement myth, which is what Nazis are saying, that Jews are taking immigrants to replace white people in America, which is a total horseshit and has been the inspiration for multiple mass shootings and terrorist attacks in America and worldwide. And this is also why I cannot ever support Gavin Newsom. This dude goes on Nazi podcast, has Nazis on his podcast. He opens the door for, hey, yes, that's okay. You can keep the jackboots on. Walk right in here. Yeah, I know your arm is a little stiff. I get it. It's up high. I get it. Fine. But please tell me more about why you think taxes for the rich should be lower. And Gavin Newsom does that with Nazis like Steve Bannon, like Charlie Kirk, on and on and on. And he will not have anyone on the left to talk about leftist policies, to talk about free health care, more affordable housing, taxing the fucking rich, ending foreign forever wars. But then, Gavin Newsom, he doesn't even challenge these people. He is so weak. I wish I pulled up the clip of that interview, but I didn't think this would come up. That clip of him with Ben Shapiro, where Ben Shapiro just totally walks him down. He just dog walks him to get him to say exactly what little helium voice Ben Shapiro. Well, I just think that we should need to have less regulation. Don't you think so? Yeah, I see your point. I just think we should have so little regulation that actually, if people, they go to work. When people go to work, right? They go to work, but they don't actually have any rights. Okay, the businessman, me, when I talk to my employees, they have no rights. I should be able to just do and say whatever I want, and that's what. If they don't like it, they can leave. They can leave. They can go to a different country. They can leave. Gavin Newsom, yeah, we should bust the unions. No, I didn't say bust the unions. I just said we should not have people have any rights at all whatsoever under the workplace. We should get rid of the Civil Rights Act. You're right, Ben. Okay, on that one I agree with you. Gavin, I can't ever support him. There is no coming back from that. That shows such a complete lack of any ideological core, that he would talk to Nazis and not be able to defend himself. Or if he can't even articulate a defense, which he should be able to. He wants to run to be president, so he kind of has to be. Think on your feet. But if he can't articulate it, just say, hey, you know what? You're wrong. I think Jews are welcome here. I think immigrants are welcome here. I think Muslims are welcome here. I don't care. Why are you calling me now? Call me back. So that distracted me. So with Gavin Newsom, I can't support him. And then same thing with Graham Plattner. I know that he's surging in the polls in Maine, and Janet Mills is a fucking awful candidate. She's Schumer's pet pick. She's so awful. But Graham Plattner, and I'm a big fan of Hassan Piker, but I have not heard a good enough explanation on why he has those Nazi tattoos. I haven't. And you can, Hassan's like, yeah, man, but they have those, that's how it was back then. And that's just the way it was. And they all did that because they're stupid. They were stupid. Yeah, and then he's older now. He should be able to articulate why that was stupid. And he should be able to articulate it in a way that actually makes me believe him and not be like, sounds like you're upset you got caught and not that you have them. So, look, Graham Plattner's politics, I think, are very, very good from a leftist perspective, but it's just going to be another Fetterman situation. He gets in there, and then he's going to go fucking full Kirsten Sinema, and he's going to do nothing, and he's not going to abolish the filibuster, and then he's not going to raise the minimum wage. So I am very, and just, again, the fact that you had such poor judgment that you would get a Totenkopf, a Nazi tattoo. I'm not saying it's disqualifying, but why didn't you at least tattoo that shit up, brother? What? It's still on him. Like, once you find out something like that, you should fly to Vegas, drive to Vegas, whatever, go to a tattoo parlor off the strip and get that shit covered up. But he didn't. That's questionable. All right, that was a long rant.
Boeing 757s over there, loaded with cash. Hundreds of millions of dollars. You would have been very happy. This was a wonderful, they said hundreds of millions. People forget that. Does anybody remember? Right? You remember. Hundreds of millions of dollars.
This was all fake news, by the way. It was literally the frozen assets that America had frozen because of sanctions that they were giving back to Iran because they were complying with the JCPOA.
In a Boeing 757, I think there are two of them, loaded. They took the seats out and they put cash. And it was so much that there was.
And it goes to show how pathetic the Obama administration was. They couldn't articulate a solid defense. And they wouldn't push back enough on this. It's like, yeah, dude, that's how a deal works. They do what you want them to do, meaning no nukes, and we give them their money back. That's how it works. Mr. Businessman himself here doesn't understand that because he gets what he wants and then he doesn't pay his employees.
In a bank in Virginia, Maryland, or D.C. that had any money left. They stripped them of all their money, put it into place, sent it to Iran, almost as ransom. That's not going to happen with Trump. And nobody ever did anything about it. Nobody ever said anything about it. Can you imagine if I did that? So they've been a threat for a long time. But they've really been a threat. If I didn't terminate Obama's horrible deal that he made, the Iran nuclear deal, you would have had a nuclear war 4 years ago. You would have had nuclear holocaust, and you would have had it again if we didn't bomb the site. So when somebody is working with us that says they didn't think Iran was a threat, we don't want those people because, and there are some people, I guess I would say that, but they're not smart people or they're not savvy people. Iran was a tremendous threat. And virtually every NATO nation, and this is the thing, if they told me it wasn't a threat, and therefore they don't want to help, but when they say it was a threat, and it was a major threat, every one of them, I think every one of them, I don't know of one that said they're not a threat, but when they say it was a threat, but we're not going to help, I think they're very foolish. You know, it's interesting. It's interesting because I could say this, that what's happening in Ukraine, we're probably in there for $400 billion. We don't spend any money anymore. They buy it from us and they pay full price. But Biden gave them between $350 and $400 billion of equipment and cash. Someday they'll have to find out about the cash. And you could say that wasn't a threat, you know, we're helping them. So we helped them, and they didn't help us, and I think that's a very bad thing for NATO. Yeah.
His brain is so fucking cooked, dude. He's just so cooked. I mean, he just rambles and rambles and rambles. He hears the most bullshit talking points that he specifically wants to hear. It's just insane. It's just insane that this is the guy that MAGA wants to hitch their wagon to. It's insane. So, this is MTG, obviously an evil, vile, terrible woman who I still believe is behind the January 6th pipe bombing. I believe the other person is a putz. But look, even she is to the left of the Democratic Party. How does this happen? Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, two of the most vile white supremacists in the country, are more left when it comes to Iran than the left party. This is insane. And she's even talking about $100 billion Trump-Iran war supplemental because Trump is running through our ammunition and military supplies. Think about how America last that is. Refuse to fund our homeland security but demand more hard-earned taxpayer dollars for Trump and Netanyahu's war against Iran. Look, she's not even blaming the Democrats here. She's not even throwing... Democrats aren't even catching strays with her tweets nowadays. That is how... I know, I've said it before. I know that Stranger Things is over, but we are still in the upside down. This is insane. And fortunately, the good news is it looks like Jeffries might not be Speaker if the Democrats take the House, which is, you know, plausible, but still pretty. It's a big one. Could get caught in the undertow of the very blue wave he hopes to ride into power this November as a growing number of Democratic candidates tell Axios they can't commit to backing his leadership. Stark reversal from Jeffries' virtually untouchable standing in the Democratic Party just a few years ago, and a sign that his path to speakership may be rockier than previously thought. Jeffries and his allies maintain they are not remotely worried about a mass defection, pointing out that, even in the minority, he has had to endure 20 speakers' ballots and hasn't lost a Democratic vote. But this crop of freshmen may provide the first chink in that heretofore impenetrable arbor, with a block of genuinely viable candidates, making clear that voting for Jeffries for Speaker is not a given if the Democrats take the House. More than 80 Democratic House candidates were either non-committal or outright opposed to Jeffries. Mai Vang, leading progressive for California, unprominent Senate last week. The Democratic Party and its leadership, Schumer and Jeffries, have failed to mobilize meaningful opposition to Trump's illegal war, and their silence as AIPAC and corporations fled congressional primaries with millions of dollars is deafening. She is 100% correct. This is how you speak truth to power. Because, again, we are not going to get through this disaster with people in charge that, like Schumer and Jeffries, that want to continue a forever war and that aren't even capable of opposing Trump on ideological grounds, because they agree with him. They want this war with Iran because their donors do. We need people who will actually be open and honest like this. Cannot support this kind of leadership. A 41-year-old council member has raised 20. Jesus Christ. I'm doing a stream. Zoom out. New retirement announcement. Congressional map redraws since October have spawned open primaries featuring yet more candidates who are not yet sold on outright. Democrats are agreed he's been failing to meet the moment. Looking for someone. I mean, this is all very good news, because I have been hearing a lot behind the scenes stuff that that there's a lot of frustration within the rank and file because of the leadership not doing enough to fight back Trump. And they're 100% correct. And that's why we have to make it our goal to oust Jeffries and Schumer. And then you had, what's his name? Josh Shapiro give an absolutely horribly disqualifying answer when it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal.
Governor Gavin Newsom, when talking to John and Tommy on Pod Save America, he was referencing an article by Thomas Friedman, but he said,
the issue of Bibi's interesting because he's got his own domestic issues. He's trying to stay out of jail. He's got folks, the hard line, that want to annex the West Bank. I mean, Freeman and others are talking about it appropriately, sort of an apartheid state.
And I'm wondering what your reaction is to that comment and what it tells you about how the politics on Israel have shifted.
Well, look, Gavin should speak for Gavin, and I'm not going to weigh in on his commentary. I'll just say, look, I think that there are sort of foundational issues here that a lot of people are grappling with. And I think a lot of people are grappling with it from an honestly held view or concern. I would argue, as someone who is desirous for...
I know that I don't trust Newsom just based on his looks, but I just look at this guy and I don't trust him. Him and Newsom both, you just look at them and they seem like, assembly line politicians, white straight males that are just cookie cutter and going to say whatever they have to get elected and do absolutely nothing to deliver on it for the people. That's my take on them.
Or peace. As someone who for the last 15, nearly 20 years has been calling for a two-state solution, which I realize feels very far away right now. I get that. But the idea of Israel and a Palestinian state where both recognize the other's right to exist, both want to live peacefully, and both recognize that the future for their children is going to be rooted and the foundational principle will be around this idea of peace, because that will allow their children to grow up in a society where they can be whatever they want to be. I want peace. And for those who begin by suggesting Israel doesn't have the right to exist as a Jewish state.
Correct, because you are saying that one classification of people are superior to the others. Even if Palestinians didn't live in, the two-state solution, there are going to be other people there that are Christian, non-denominational, atheist, Muslim, what have you, and they're going to be second-class citizens because they're not Jewish, which is exactly what's already happened in Israel, and that's why a two-state solution isn't really possible anymore, because this current government of Israel has radicalized so many of the people in government and so many of its base that they don't see Palestinians as human beings. They don't. That's why they went on a full riot to defend a bunch of rapists and pedophile soldiers that were going to possibly face charges and accountability for their raping people in custody. So yeah, it's not possible because they have radicalized and they can't coexist with these people. They frankly can't. They don't view it that way. It's the same way how I view. I can't coexist with people like that congressman in Ogles and that guy who was arrested for beating a trans person and says I would do it again and I'm glad they intervened because had they not I would have them. You cannot coexist with people with that kind of mindset. You can't. These are not people that belong in polite society. And frankly, so many of the radicalized base of Netanyahu, his supporters, and his government are radicalized to the point that there is no coexisting with them if you are not Jewish.
I think that is a recipe for permanent war. I would also say that it is really important that we create space, which you do, for dialogue that is thoughtful and dialogue that's rooted in reality and dialogue where we're precise with our words, where we're able to acknowledge there's a lot of nuance on these issues and we should debate them. And just because people have different opinions doesn't make them a bad person.
No, there is no nuance here. Israel is committing a genocide. And yes, if you support that, you are a bad person. Yes, you fucking are. If you think that Israel should be able to fly quadcopters into a makeshift tent hospital and shoot pregnant women in the belly, if you think that snipers should be able to shoot teenage boys in the testicles as they're trying to cross the street, if you think that double taps are acceptable in schools, double tap strikes in schools in Gaza, yeah, you're a bad person. You just are. That's also why I think he is a bad person, because he finds that acceptable. Josh Shapiro is a bad person, the same way that Gavin Newsom is a bad person for supporting Nazis. They just are.
And just because someone doesn't agree with the Netanyahu government, which I don't on many, many things, doesn't make him an anti-Semite. Just because I disagree with Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't make me an anti-Semite, in as much as because I disagree with Donald Trump doesn't make me any less of an American patriot.
Oh, come on. Oh, my God, bro. Disagreeing with Trump is literally the patriotism right now. Saying that you need to release the Epstein files. These pedophiles should be held accountable. Saying there should be no more forever wars. Saying that immigrants should belong here. That makes you a patriot. And yes, saying that Netanyahu is a vile piece of shit does not make you an anti-Semite either. These are two completely incomparable things. This is insane.
So I just think we've got to be really thoughtful and careful and not just look for buzzwords and not just sort of follow, what's going to get maybe some likes on Twitter, but we've got to be thoughtful about a debate that is really, really hard to have, and we've got to have it.
Because I disagree with Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't. Yeah, okay, we just covered that.
Governor Gavin Newsom.
Oh my God. Just ignore that for a second. This whole answer is a series of red flags. Answering a question about Israel apartheid with some Oslo-era peace process problem. No sign that Shapiro's policy would be any different than Biden's. That is correct. Shapiro just failed a credibility test. I agree with this as well. It's not just a debate over Gaza or Palestine, and it's more than just a debate about foreign policy. It is a bigger debate about how America acts in the world, but it's also a question of can we trust our leaders, said Matt Duss, a former foreign policy advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders and executive vice president of the progressive think tank Center for International Policy. When any candidate is running for office and they're telling you, here's what I'm going to do for you, but then when they ask about this one issue, they revert to these same bullshit talking points that seriously undermines their credibility. Yes, I think that's what it did for Harris, and I think the reverse is true for Mamdani. I agree with this because you could just tell he was beating around the bush. You could tell he was trying to say something without saying it, because the simple fact is he's walking the line, okay? He's on the tightrope where he doesn't want to upset people on the left, he doesn't want to upset people on the right, because he doesn't want to have a consistent, clear worldview on this. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to get the voters but not deliver for them. And that's why Newsom and Shapiro are the two most likely presidential candidates if the Democrats nominate. They will lose. And even if they win, it will not deliver for the people like what we need. Now, on a lighter note, I love this guy's stuff. He does the kind of stuff that I wish I could do. Like, I do stuff similar to this, but he is so fucking much better than me. He's really, really good. something huge in common. We're both entirely focused on making life better for working people. We have very different ideas on how to do that, but I think that's a sign of a healthy democracy, the ability to just disagree civilly, thoughtfully. So, yeah, he's literally just copying Zoran Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani just broke primary records in New York, but not because of his radical plan to make the city more affordable, but because of TikTok, hand jewelry, and snappy editing. So we're bringing you that very hip, very cool campaign, but with the same poll-tested, market-friendly, centrist ideas that help maintain the status quo. People say the rent is too darn high. I hear that. I feel that. But we can't freeze the rent. That's irresponsible. But we can incentivize landlords to delay rent increases for select tenants who meet narrow income thresholds. We need to develop more, build more, and cut all the red tape that's slowing us down. That's why I co-sponsored the Affordable Market Solutions Act, a bold bill that directs public subsidies to private developers to build a limited supply of affordable housing over the next 7 to 10 years. And that's just a taste. Oh, this is messy. Too many of our neighbors are being left behind by unreliable buses and trains. That's why we're going to launch a pilot program to create transit advisory panels. And the beautiful part, we don't have to pay for any of it, because there's nothing to pay for. Because ultimately, it doesn't take big structural change to get the abundance we deserve. It just takes a big tent. That means respecting our hardworking, job-creating billionaires and making sure they feel just as welcome in our city as you and I. Please don't leave. We don't need socialism. We need public-private partnerships. This campaign is not left. This campaign is not right. It's something different.
Paid for by more of the same PAC moms for centrism and the Definitely Not Evil Foundation.
I think that bit really nailed it on the head, where it's like, this campaign is not left. It's not right. It's something different. Because, yeah, they don't want to take a stand. The centrists want to... like I said, they want to have their voters and fuck them over too. If you haven't seen that guy, hold on, let me pull him back up again. So he's with Zedio. Oops.